Hello, my name is Ocie Marie Taylor. I was born in DeRidder, Louisiana, and raised in DeRidder, Louisiana, and San Francisco, California. I have resided in San Francisco for the last approximately 50 years. Today, I would like to share a story about growing up in both Louisiana and San Francisco. And I reflect on one particular day that I share in this story about my mom, my sister, and I walking downtown in DeRidder, Louisiana. At this point, I'm fourth grade. My daddy has shared his paycheck from his new job. My dad was a baker. He went to trade school and he did his internship at the bakery, Richley's Bakery, where Shalette and I do our capers in the afternoons. But by then, he was working at Fort Polk. So he must have gotten a raise because he showed us what a $100 bill looked like. And then he gave my mom the money. And so this had to be in like 63. 63, yeah. He gave my mom the money and we headed out downtown. I'm walking on the outside. Mom is in the middle. Sanji's on the other side. And a little white boy spat on me and it hit me dead in the face, on the right side of my face. And I said, Mom, he spit on me. My mom said, keep walking. And I was like, I knew that wasn't right. I didn't even know there was a San Francisco at that point, but I knew that wasn't right. But I said nothing. I kept walking. And so I started dancing around the parking meters and I tore my dress. And then my mom said, oh, Ocie Marie, you cannot go downtown with that torn dress. Go back home and me and Sandra will go shopping for the shorts and we'll see you at home. So I go home. I had had a spit on day. My mom had rejected me. And it's just a bad day in memory. But again, I did get to San Francisco. And that's how this became one of those bad memories. Along the way, and after I had a child, I became involved with her education 100%, because I knew one thing that could not be taken away from Kelly would be an education. We were blessed as a family to be able to send Kelly to an independent all-girls school in San Francisco. And when right after Dad passed, Kelly lost her dad and my husband, and when she was 10. And I just want to focus on the story of bringing Minnijean Brown from the Little Rock Nine to Kelly's school when Kelly was doing a civil rights project. They were the college graduating class of 2015. And at this time, they were in 5th grade. So we had Kelly and I, as she worked on this project, and it is videotaped with Minnijean Brown, Kelly and I had the opportunity to go and pick up a member of the Little Rock Nine. The Little Rock Nine is a group of African-American teenagers who tried to integrate the schools in Little Rock, Arkansas, but was met by the police and white students, and I think even the National Guard, even at some point, was involved in different parts of the South trying to integrate, but specifically to the Little Rock Nine. It was called Central High School that they tried to integrate, and they succeeded in integrating that school. So that's what Minnijean Brown was going to come to Kelly's school and talk about. So we pick her up. I don't know that much about the history. I didn't know at that time. So she and I started sharing stories. Me about my life in Louisiana, and her about growing up in Little Rock, Arkansas. And our lives were so similar. She was just famous, but so down to earth. And she and I both started tearing up. Tears start dropping down our eyes as we told and compared our stories. So Minnijean Brown came to the school. She talked to the class. And Kelly and those guys were pretty young to be able to take it all in. But Kelly's teachers, on the other hand, were very moved because they were around during the 50s when this incident had happened. And one teacher in particular, Mr. Johnston. And Minnijean Brown said in her presentation that after what had happened to them hit the news, she would get letters from all over the world with just her name and Little Rock, Arkansas, and those letters would get to her. And it looked like Mr. Johnston just held on to that story. And I always wonder if he was one of the persons who sent her a letter. Because Mr. Johnston is Caucasian. He was Kelly's counselor. And after Kelly's dad passed away, he gave her a blanket to make her feel comfortable during school. And it raised her from the bottom of the class to the top of the class. And I always thank him for that. So after Minnijean Brown did her presentation, Kelly had to do, I think it was an essay. And in the essay, I did not know that Kelly had been paying such attention to what we were saying, because actually I forgot she was in the back seat. We got so intense in that front seat about our history and Jim Crow America. In Kelly's essay, she wrote, I was looking at those two beautiful, strong Black women through the rearview mirror, and I saw tears coming down their eyes. And I knew something magic had happened, but I just did not know what. I think what happened is it opened my eyes again to my civil rights, to what had happened to me in the South. And it gave me a chance to revisit it through the eyes of not only a person who had experienced it, but through my daughter's education. So let's just say I just went back to school with her. And there's always a silver lining in things. And I'm gonna pull up the silver lining in this pandemic. What it made us do was shelter in place at home and socially distance, but basically stay home. And that's how I started writing my stories and telling my stories of being raised in DeRidder, Louisiana, and San Francisco, California. One story in San Francisco that lets me know that racism was alive and well was being in the hospitality business and taking on that job in catering. I just started loving it, and catering parties happen seasonal. So I, at this point, was doing contract work at the Moscone Center. And people knew my background, so I had been given an opportunity to chair the women's gift center luncheon. It wasn't the gift center luncheon, the women's gift luncheon. Anyway, the point of the story is about the chef. I was excited. As soon as I found out I had been chosen to chair this luncheon, I just started in my head saying, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I know what kind of china I'm gonna ask for. I know what I'm gonna give them for a gift. We're gonna have Godiva chocolates. I'm gonna put pink um, ribbons around them, and I need to go see the chef. My co-chair was Amy. Amy was Jewish, and she was a type of Jewish girl who left her home with the shield every day. Um, so she also dated the chef's son. So I just always thought, I knew the chef never said a word to me, but it didn't matter. So I'm walking across the Moscone Center and I see the chef. So I think he's coming to see me. And he's excited too that we're going to be doing this luncheon together. Well, was I wrong? I guess when he got within a foot of us, he stated, I will not let a nigger and a kike tell me what to do. I knew I was the N word, but I'd never heard the kike. So Amy said, oh, I hate when he does that. And I said, but you date his son. She said, yeah, I know, but I hate when he gets like this. Well, now I know what I'm working with. I'm still going to do that luncheon and I'm still going to be the co-chair. I'm still going to be the chair and I'm going to do the Godiva chocolates and he's going to do the menu I asked for and I'll just work with this racist chef. We got through the luncheon. I think he even gave me a plate. We didn't talk, but he did exactly what I asked him to do. Now back to my Jewish friend, Amy. After that experience, and after Kelly was born, I had the opportunity to take a class, African American and Jewish Women, Our Similarities and Our Differences. It was hosted by a friend who has remained a close friend since then. Our girls are born in the same month in 1993. She's also Jewish. And in that class, each person, each African American woman was assigned to a Jewish woman. And I had a really nice partner, and we worked together for 48 hours. And what I came away with, and what this woman taught me, is the difference in our sufferings and what we deal with on a daily basis is that Jewish women have choices. They can do their hair differently, and they are white in color, and they could just live the white life if they want to. And that's the privileged life. Whereas when I'm Black and I open my door and I step outside, I'm Black inside my house and I'm Black outside of my house. And I am treated accordingly. And you meet people like the chef who come from different walks of life. And he came from the West Coast, Oregon. I subsequently met his 19-year-old daughter who had never seen a Black person until she came to work at the Moscone and she saw me. Was that amazing? 19 years. So I could sort of see the anger in that chef because boy, was he out of his comfort zone. But the lesson taught me a lot. Now that I'm finally studying Black history and putting together what we first started talking about here, I see the 60s were my beginning. It's taken about 54 years to go nowhere as far as we're concerned with racism. When I was in school in Louisiana, we did not study Black history or the Holocaust. I learned about Columbus and possibly Magellan discovering America. And in 12th grade, after my school was integrated, required reading was Hitler and the Third Reich. He was a Canadian history teacher and he had a liking for Hitler and the Brown Boys. That was instead and in place of studying about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, John Lewis, Emmett Till, Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, just to name a few. All things that I have just learned after being in my 50s, people that I have in depth studied and read about. This was the 70s when we was ignoring Black history. Neither positive nor negative messages regarding Black history were offered in the South. It was just simply avoided and not allowed. I started to respect John Lewis his last few years in Congress. He was the first Black protester to ride the Greyhound bus. When my daughter Kelly was in middle school, is when she started learning about African American history. Now, decades later, her mom is learning about her African American history, and I don't think that it could be more timely with what our world has come to. But I always think, before I end, I want you to know that I'm thinking, by not speaking up, did I contribute to the hard issues of racism and equality that I'm wrestling with today? I would not let this be another passed up opportunity. I will join the new, what I want to call reconstruction. I'm in my 60s, and I'm going to bring along my neighbors who are Ukrainians and Asians and a few Black people. And I'm doing that right now. When I sit next to an Asian yesterday to take my second Pfizer vaccination that has become a big part of overcoming the pandemic, I sit next to an Asian woman and I said to her, I said, my name is Ocie, what's your name? And we all have on masks, so I couldn't understand her. And I asked her to spell it. And she said, Magdalena. I said, hi, nice to meet you. And I said, how long have you been in, I said, how long have you been here? And then I realized I had maybe insulted her because she responded, I've been here a long time. I said, well, I'm from I'm from DeRidder, Louisiana. She says, oh, I said, I've been here 50 years. And it was just a nice exchange. And that's all you have to do is just try to make an effort to talk to someone that does not look like you. And maybe they can learn something about you and your whole race and how this world should be equal for all of us. We have more to come. Thank you.